While Don Jr. was in New York preparing to testify in court, his fiancée Kimberly was at the party dressed up as Trump's constituents, Snow White. Don Jr. was not at Daddy Donald's last night. The prodigal son was being grilled as part of the $250 million case against their business. But I did get some exciting news this weekend. According to a new poll from YouGov, which is a serious polling site, or they were before this, I am more popular than the President of the United States.
Jimmy Kimmel just pulled off the unthinkable. He took direct aim at Don Jr. and his father in one of the wildest roast sessions ever caught on camera. It was like watching a family barbecue go completely off the rails. The grill explodes, the ketchup catches fire, and no one even remembers who invited Jimmy in the first place. What began as a few harmless jokes quickly spiraled into a full-blown comedy disaster. And let's just say the Trumps won't be cracking a smile after this one.
This month, we'll have International Asexuality Day. I mean, because that's a big one. Don't forget that one, folks. That's basically like Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, all wrapped up into one special, radical, insane Democrat holiday.
No, that's right, folks. And if anyone knows special, it's me, DJ TJ. Remember the guy who keeps saying I have no ratings? Well, that makes two of us. They polled more than 1,000 people, and I lead Trump by 16 points. I'm at +3, he's at -13. Is nice, but it feels like, considering the fact that I'm not a convicted felon friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and I've never paid off a porn star or sent a team of masked goons into a park to pull an old lady away from her grandchildren, I feel like my rating should be higher, maybe, than...
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Jimmy Kimmel just pulled off something so outrageous, it's got the entire internet gasping for air. Picture this, a late-night comedian suddenly turns into a one-man political wrecking crew. His targets? Don Jr. and his father, the President of the United States. What began as an ordinary night of jokes quickly turned into a full-blown comedic airstrike, where every punchline landed harder than a leaked classified document.
There he is, Tiny Soprano. I wonder what's going through his head right now.
I should have worn makeup.
Oh, yeah, good one. Here's the thing about Don Jr. What he lacks in intelligence, he also lacks in charisma. So, and as with all cases involving the family Trump, DJ TJ was sworn in on an upside-down Bible. He will finish his testimony tomorrow, and then Eric will testify, and then Trump will claim he's never met either one of them. But it's getting serious.
Kimmel didn't just roast them. He built a full-blown bonfire, tossed in a few tweets for fuel, and lit the match with pure sarcasm. It all started with Don Jr., who's basically the human version of a Wi-Fi signal that keeps cutting out mid-sentence. He tried stepping back into the spotlight, thinking he could handle the heat, but Jimmy clearly had other plans.
At this point, finding a toenail in your salad has a 7-point lead over Donald Trump. And I hope he doesn't see this. I hate to, I don't like to upset him, but I think he might be upset because the White House put out a statement this afternoon. This is a real statement. Over 77 million Americans showed up on Election Day to cast their ballots for President Donald J. Trump, who is delivering on his overwhelming mandate to put America first. Jimmy Kimmel prays every night to garner a fraction of that support to keep his show on air after ratings dropped 64% last week. Sad. I like sad with an exclamation point. It would make a nice t-shirt with Trump's face on it, wouldn't it?
You could almost hear the political PR team praying in unison as Kimmel shredded the Trump family antics like a chainsaw through butter. He kicked off with John Jr.'s latest attempt at staying relevant, which, as usual, carried more enthusiasm than sense. Let's just say, if charisma were currency, Don Jr. would still be paying off debts from 2016.
I'm just proud of the toughest person I've ever met in my entire life for having the backbone and fortitude to go through this whole mess, as uncomfortable as it's been. And I'm proud to have stood there every single second by his side in that freezing cold courtroom. He's an inspiration to me every single day. and he'll be vindicated.
In other words, Daddy, I was there, Don Jr. wasn't. He just showed up today.
Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Jimmy turned his sights on the president himself. When Kimmel, the guy who once cried over a healthcare bill, transforms into a verbal sniper, you know it's serious. He didn't just mock Trump, he dismantled him with the precision of someone who's been taking notes since the first fake news press conference. Every word dripped with irony and political glitter, aimed straight at Trump Tower. The twist? Trump probably loved it. He treats criticism like caffeine, can't function without it. Every joke fuels his next tweet, every insult becomes rally material. Kimmel even highlighted Don Jr.'s desperate attempts to impress his dad, who's about as emotionally expressive as a brick wall in a red tie. It was like watching a grown man audition for approval from someone too busy tweeting about golf scores.
You know, sometimes we get so fixated on Trump, we forget there are other disgusting creatures hell-bent on bringing about the end of the world out there. But our president, Metamucil World Peace, is having a pretty good week, or he was anyway. Yesterday, Trump had what was easily the most presidential day of his life. He was front and center on the world stage, signing a ceasefire in the Middle East, and then he got home, he started going through the internet, and he just couldn't help himself. Trump made the cover of Time magazine, which he usually loves. You know, before he was president,
That's the genius of Kimmel's roast. He didn't need to yell or pull outrageous stunts. He relied on cold, perfectly timed humor that hits like a surprise slap. His delivery had that smooth, late-night vibe. Every jab wrapped in a smile, every punchline landing with surgical precision. He painted Don Jr. as a tragic figure, forever stuck in his father's shadow, trying to prove he's more than Trump Jr., yet always proving the opposite. Then came the metaphors. Kimmel likened the Trump family brand to an overextended reality show, still running, but everyone's exhausted and the plot stopped making sense 3 seasons ago. No exaggeration needed. The comedy carried itself. By now, the internet was melting down. Trump supporters calling Kimmel unhinged, liberals hailing him as a comedic messiah, and neutrals just enjoying the memes. The best part? Kimmel didn't look angry. He looked amused, like he'd discovered the country's political chaos was the world's most entertaining TV show, and he had front row seats.
They're eating their cats, they're eating the dogs. Welcome back to the program.
Charlie, I thought this was a conspiracy theory, and like all conspiracy theories, it turns out to be true.
what is going on with that list? A conspiracy theory, you say? Who is conspiring? Immigrants from Port-au-Prince? I mean, I read that they're roasting Irish feathers.
It's disgusting, and it should not be happening in America. It shouldn't be happening anywhere else in the civilized world, but that's the reality. Okay, you look at Haiti, you look at the demographic makeup, you look at the average IQ. If you import the third world into your country, you are going to become the third world. That's just basic. Like, it's not racist, it's just fact.
I don't know, sounds pretty racist to me.
Then Kimmel pulled back, because he's not just about roasting individuals, he knows how to capture the whole picture. He turned the entire Trump phenomenon into a running joke, comparing it to a company that keeps announcing big wins while quietly losing customers. It's that perfect mix of satire, hilarious yet a little terrifying. You laugh because it's funny, then pause because it's also painfully true. At one point, Jimmy joked that Don Jr. defends his father like a man brainwashed by motivational posters, always talking about strength and success, yet conveniently ignoring an economy on fire, half the cabinet resigning, and the family business under investigation. Number 73. Suddenly, the internet had a new obsession. Don Jr.'s attempts to clap back only made things worse, proving Kimmel's points in real time. Every rebuttal felt like a deleted scene from a bad reality show. The cycle is fascinating. The more serious Don Jr. tries to be, the funnier he becomes. It's almost poetic.
He had fake Time magazine covers hanging on the walls of his golf club, for real. But this one, I guess, conjured up some mixed feelings because of the photo being used. It's upset him so much that at 1:36 a.m. he posted, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. Now, I want to go back to that cover and show you this crown. Okay, that's not a crown, that's the letter M. Only he would see an M on his head and assume it's a crown. If that's not an M, you're on the cover of Time magazine, okay?
And Jimmy, he just stood there, smirking like the universe's most patient teacher watching a student stumble over the same sentence again and again. But what made the roast truly hit was the political backdrop. Trump's presidency, full of daily plot twists, gave Kimmel the perfect canvas. Inflation became a punchline, the border a chaotic family vacation, and global diplomacy felt like a toddler running a lemonade stand. Every major issue turned into comedy gold, not because the topics were funny, but because of the reactions they sparked. There's something cathartic about watching a comedian slice through political absurdity with humor sharper than most journalists' analysis. Naturally, Trump loyalists rushed to defend the family, calling Kimmel biased or jealous, ironically only proving his point. A few jokes later, and half the internet was ready to launch an investigation. Kimmel probably went home, poured a drink, and said, "Mission accomplished." Because if there's one thing more satisfying than a perfect punchline, it's watching it echo for days.
The other sniveling MAGA turd who has a weird twist on our president's name is Don Jr.
Check this out. Joe Biden, 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 Joe Biden has dementia.
That's right. He's the one with the dementia. That's right. It's like he got bitten by a radioactive morning zoo or something. Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden. Here in LA, school is out for the summer, but
Meanwhile, Don Jr. took to social media to set the record straight, which, unsurprisingly, went about as well as expected. His posts felt like someone who's just been roasted at dinner deciding to email the waiter about it. He tried to spin it as a win, but by then, the memes had already taken over. Of course, Trump himself got involved because why not? Reportedly, he didn't appreciate Kimmel's tone, which is ironic coming from a man whose own tone has sparked more international incidents than any comedian ever could. Even his reaction was predictable. Another dramatic statement, another media frenzy, another week of fake news complaints. At this point, it's less a presidency and more a never-ending performance art piece. The funniest part? How it exposed the fragile ego ecosystem around the Trump family. Don Jr. trying to echo his father is like watching someone do karaoke to a song nobody liked. Every attempt to sound powerful ends up sounding like a TED Talk on missing the point.
being honored for wearing that tie down to your knees. Every morning is a game of who am I mad at today? Is it the Cracker Barrel logo? Is it windmills? Is it Bad Bunny? Is it the Nobel Prize? Or is it the turkey vagina slapping around under my chin? I'm not sure we're even allowed to show his neck on TV. Wouldn't it be funny if the FCC fined us for showing his neck on TV? Trump went on, I never like taking pictures from underneath angles, but this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? It's like he's a TikTok influencer yelling at her boyfriend for not knowing her angles.
Kimmel's jokes only amplified the tragic irony. The harder they fought for dominance, the more cartoonish they appeared. By week's end, everyone was talking not because it was scandalous, but because it was absurdly entertaining. Kimmel didn't attack them out of malice, he did it with perspective, showing that power wrapped in vanity and ego is just comedy waiting to happen. Don Jr.'s endless quest for validation, Trump's obsession with dominance, both unraveling under their own theatrics. And through it all, Kimmel grinned like a man who's found the world's most reliable source of material. There's something timeless about it. In a world drowning in political noise, humor becomes the only honest voice. And Jimmy Kimmel has mastered that balance between cynicism and clarity, laughing at the madness while reminding everyone, subtly, that it is madness.
He's being held responsible for making safety last, but fortunately for him, he's got an ardent defender in one Donald J. Jr.
Pete Buttigieg, you saw in the clip earlier, he's taking some personal time because, 19 days isn't enough time. Plus the time he spent chest feeding while we were in the midst of a supply chain crisis and 350 million Americans were depending on him to do his damn job. But there is no accountability. There's not even the expectation of these guys doing their jobs.
And what is your job exactly? I mean, seriously, besides yelling at your laptop, what is it that you do for a living? What do you write on your tax return, son? Donald Trump Jr. is the only guy in America who claims himself as a dependent.
So when people say Jimmy Kimmel destroyed Don Jr. and Trump, it's not about humiliation. It's about exposure. He held up a mirror, and what stared back was a mix of comedy, confusion, and ego. The roast wasn't just funny, it was revealing. He didn't just target their politics, he targeted their personas, the brand, the myth, the endless performance of power that crumbles the moment someone laughs at it. That's what makes it so satisfying. This wasn't just another celebrity feud, it was a cultural moment showing that laughter can cut sharper than outrage. Jimmy didn't destroy them with insults, he dismantled them with irony, truth, and perfect timing. The internet will move on to the next scandal, but this one stood out, largely because Kimmel didn't even have to try. The material wrote itself. The Trump family operates like a never-ending reality show that forgot it was supposed to end after season 1. Every episode the same. Don Jr. trying to sound profound, Trump insisting everything is the best ever, and someone in the background desperately trying to find the plot.
Meanwhile, the president has been doing his part to bring the two sides together by calling one of the sides the party of hate, evil, and Satan. Hate, evil, and Satan. And that's why they call him the peace president. Teddy Roosevelt had a press conference / pity party today. He bitched and moaned and patted himself on the back so many times he almost dislocated his shoulder. He played all the hits. He bragged about winning the elections in Georgia in 2016 and 2024. He again claimed the election was stolen from him in Georgia in 2020. The blaming and the bragging, he cannot stop.
Kimmel just stepped in and turned the chaos into comedy, and that's what makes it genius. He didn't exaggerate, it was already absurd, and he simply highlighted it. Watching Don Jr. defend his father's every move is like watching someone defend a volcano for erupting. It's just passionate, he says, as the lava burns half the country. Kimmel saw that disconnect, the gap between image and absurdity, and built his entire roast around it. Even political pundits couldn't help but laugh because he said what everyone else was too polite to admit about the president. So when people say Jimmy Kimmel destroyed Don Jr. and Trump, it's not about anger, it's about truth. The lesson? Power might make you untouchable politically, but never comedically. The moment you take yourself too seriously, someone like Jimmy Kimmel is waiting with a smirk, a punchline, and the perfect reminder that sometimes the truth is the funniest thing of all.